Today is the 22nd Sunday of Ordinary Time, Cycle B. The application of laws, religious or otherwise, requires prudence and common sense. The law is like a fence near a cliff. It creates the boundaries in which we can operate safely. For example, vehicles are required to have front lights, rear lights, and brake lights, all of which makes it easier for us to drive safely at night. Can you imagine how dangerous it would be if we had to drive at night and all our vehicles did not have lights? If everyone obeyed the law, we could leave our doors open, our laptops unattended, and not have to worry about theft. The law is intended to enable us to live in a community where we can focus on relationships without anxieties. Blind obedience to the law distracts us from the freedom that the law is supposed to create. In this situation, the focus on the letter of the law and not on the spirit of the law causes inflexibility and too much rigidity. A policeman in Texas followed a man to emergency room or hospital to give him a citation for speeding. He was taking his elderly father, who had suffered a stroke, to the emergency room. Exceptions to the law ought to be rare and few. However, too many people believe that they should be granted an exception. Worse yet, they believe that it is their right and not a favor. They do not ask, they demand. If everyone disregarded the law or believed that he or she was entitled to an exception, there would be total chaos. If we fail to act prudently when we commit sins, there will be consequences. When today King David committed adultery with Bathsheba, one of the wives of his soldiers, God forgave him when he repented, but strife and division never left his home. In the gospel, the scribes and the Pharisees criticized some of Jesus' disciples for not following the customs of washing their hands and the purification of vessels. Some of Jesus' disciples were not devout Jews. For example, Matthew, he was a tax collector, or may have worked in rural areas where water was scarce and purification rituals may not have been strictly observed. Jesus did not deny the validity of these rituals, but suggested that more emphasis should be placed on the avoidance of serious sins rather than on the performance of sacred rituals created by men. He pointed out that sins that came from within, from the heart, was what defiles a person. From within people, from their hearts, come evil thoughts, unchastity, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, licentiousness, envy, blasphemy, arrogant folly. All these evils come from within, and they defile. Are we more preoccupied with our obligation to attend Mass every Sunday than the evils which Jesus mentioned that come from within our hearts. I repeat, evil thoughts, unchastity, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, licentiousness, which is drunkenness, envy, blasphemy, arrogance, and folly. The Pharisees and the Pharisees, more interested in minor things like purification ritual than the grave matters that have such a serious effect on our soul, serious sins. Many disciples left Jesus because they believed that his teachings on the bread of life was too hard to accept. There is something hypocritical about our nation's extreme concerns to save the manatees, the whales, the spotted owls, etc., and our nation's indifference to the grave sin of abortion, especially late-term abortion. I believe that if a late-term abortion was ever shown on television, the public would be so horrified to see a baby being ripped apart. The cry would be so great that it would be outlawed overnight. Abortion is a very grave sin, but because it is legal, it appears to be the easiest solution to very complex problems. The law could be worse. In Holland, a parent has 6 months after the birth of the child to decide whether they wish to terminate it. That's the case where this child has a serious birth defect. Love of God will lead to obedience of moral laws, but strict obedience to these laws will not lead to the love of God. We need to focus on that which deepens our love for God. Love of God, love of others can never be separated. How do we focus on these things that will increase our love for God? We have to practice mercy and kindness to others. Also remember the words of St. Paul. Be doers of the word and not hearers only, deluding ourselves. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God and the Father is this: to care for orphans and widows in their affliction and to keep oneself unstained by the world. Thank you very much.